Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'm pleased to be able to rise and speak in support of the Living Marine Resources Management Amendment Aquaculture Research Bill 2021 and place on record that Tasmanian Labor support the amendments contained within this bill. I want to use it as an opportunity to outline the intention of the bill, but also place on record comments of support from Tasmania Labor for a range of the industries that are wrapped up within these amendments and highlight the future potentials that these amendments provide for. But before I start, I want to place on record my thanks for the briefing that was provided to go through these amendments and to bring clarity for what is a fairly simple set of amendments here to create a massive opportunity for Tasmania and for Australia. So what it is to provide for research opportunities. What it isn't is to give a green light to immediate offshore commercial operations. For anyone that might have been watching conversations of recent where there has been escalating tension and commentary in the community around particularly our aquaculture industry here in Tasmania that Tasmanian Labor are particularly supportive of, this is not about...
You're a flag waver for the industry.
This is not about saying that we don't support the Tasmanian salmon industry as it stands now. So the Minister has outlined that this is the first step in a long process. It is a first step that provides the opportunity for research for the Blue Economy CRC that, housed proudly in Launceston, will be able to contribute to future knowledge and understanding for the development of systems and processes that will provide almost an unlimited opportunity for the production of safe and nutritious proteins in our aligned waters here, the Commonwealth waters that are off the shore of Tasmania, but also provide opportunities for innovative farming opportunities and productive opportunities in the area of seaweed, finfish and other species. There are a number of steps that these amendments provide for. They open up the opportunity for Tasmanian regulatory framework to apply over Commonwealth waters in order to provide a clear system for that research, and as the Minister's outlined, also brings in areas of animal welfare and biosecurity that are already contained within regulations. It does take steps where there needs to be further agreement between the Commonwealth and the state for what areas the research will be undertaken within, and then applications for proposals will need to be approved. What I'm interested in, I suppose, at the moment is when I listen to the Minister lay down his comments in this second reading speech that this is really exciting. We are completely behind these initiatives and it provides a massive opportunity for the brand, for the reputation and for the opportunity of Tasmania and Tasmanians that can be involved in future clever, full-time, new and innovative jobs and to produce premium products into new markets. This is really exciting. And we already have an existing really exciting industry here. And I wanted just to reflect on a comment that the Minister made in his reading to say that what's actually happening here, and I quote, is deliberately designed to reflect the well-established, robust regulatory framework that applies to marine farming in state waters. So we actually already have an industry which is incredible, which is world-leading, which is world-renowned, which people across other countries that have been farming for much longer than us look to us for inspiration and understanding of how to maintain a globally leading industry because we have these well-established, robust regulatory frameworks here. However, I think it would be remiss of me not to express our concern, our disappointment and the shock, I suppose, that the industry felt not that long ago in this place where it was announced that a moratorium was going to be placed and a 10-year plan was going to be produced without any pre-consultation with the industry. And I think at the time the industry felt like there was a cloud placed across it where perhaps there was a suggestion from the government that they weren't operating well, that they needed to have greater checks and balances. And yes, the industry says that we want want to have the best regulation to match the great reputation that we have, but in the way that it was done, I think we need to take a step back and continue to celebrate the great work of an industry where, and the latest information that I can find available is quite some time ago, and so these numbers will have moved a bit, but an industry that for Tasmania, I'm not sure that all Tasmanians, and in fact maybe all members of this place realise that the seafood industry makes the greatest contribution, particularly salmonoids, the greatest contribution to the gross value of primary production in the state, and also in terms of the processed food value in the state. There is no doubt in the future, and I'll make some comments in a minute about the role of the Blue Economy CRC, that the research done in this sort of blue economy for this, and I heard someone in the industry refer to it recently as blue food. This is the future of feeding populations around the world, and we can do it from right here in Tasmania, and we already have an exceptional industry that deserves our celebration and support. I want to just, before I move on to things that are outside the aquaculture and salmon industry, just read into the Hansard a couple of documents that were included as a result of the consultation process. And I note, as is our job in opposition, to consider any risks or negatives or where this process may have fallen down at any point. And I have to say that we are fully supportive of this, and really the only comment that I could find was the consultation was quite short, 2 weeks for consultation. Although it's a simple a series of amendments, it does provide massive opportunity, and perhaps 2 weeks was a little undercooked for consultation. There were some comments around that. I note that in all future steps there are consultation requirements as well, and we would trust that those consultation processes give ample time for people to participate and express their support and or concerns with the steps going forward. But I wanted to read in parts from 2 documents from the Tasmanian Salmonoid Growers Association. One when this bill was announced, because it speaks to the importance and also the status of the industry in Tasmania. So the Tasmanian Salmonoid Growers Association welcomed the commitment to establish this framework for sustainable aquaculture opportunities in Commonwealth waters, identifying that, and I quote, whether it's finfish, seaweed, shellfish, new species or integrated multi-trophic farms, this provides a new frontier for responsible growth of Australian aquaculture to match the growing Australian and global consumer demand for healthy farmed seafood. The work underway by the Blue Economy CRC is providing Australian aquaculture a global advantage on blue water offshore farming. The salmon industry in Tasmania has always been innovative in its approach in freshwater hatcheries and sea farming. Our industry currently operates in the world's most wild waters, and we look forward to continuing to work with the Blue Economy CRC to ensure blue water offshore operations are good for the stock, for the environment and for the workforce, that they remain safe. And I think that's something, and I touched on it earlier, but one of the things that's so incredibly important about this industry particularly is that, and we know, Minister, in agriculture, and particularly now we're going into harvest season, actually being able to find people in seasonal work and people that are in perhaps part-time work or work that comes and goes, whether it be harvesting or planting in agriculture. In our aquaculture industry, we have full-time, really clever, really important jobs in regional Tasmania. They are really important jobs. And so whatever we can do to continue to support the current industry and also provide certainty for the future pathways for more and even more clever and interesting jobs in the future is really important. I think from memory, in this industry at the moment, there are around 2,000 people that are directly employed in the salmon industry in Tasmania. And when you take into account all of the supply chain employments, it's about 12,000 Tasmanians that are employed in this industry, and they're spending about $500 million a year in associated infrastructure and supply chain. And so it's critically important that opportunities like this through these amendments are taken up fully and they are supported, because it does continue to identify the importance of this industry but provide for the future as well. But it's not just about salmon and the aquaculture industry, and I wanted to make a couple of comments now about the Blue Economy CRC. As I understand it, it's actually the only Blue Economy CRC in the world, and it's incredible for me as a member for Bass that it's in Launceston. And given the nature of the work that they're doing and the commercial opportunities that will spin out from this, that it is housed in Launceston. We welcome that and we're grateful for that, given that Launceston has this great history of innovations and firsts. We know that the work that will come out of the Blue CRC and its purpose and intention was in fact specifically for these types of activities, and why these amendments have been brought forward. There is enormous potential here, and the Minister read in some comments from the national plan, and I just wanted to read in a couple of comments from the Blue CRC's website, where it says, taken together, Australia and New Zealand have an exclusive economic zone of over 14 million square kilometres of well-managed clean oceans that provide enormous potential to increase seafood and renewable energy production sustainably. We have wild waters, and so the website goes on to say that we'll need to withstand both regular and extreme weather events while being safe, and the workforce safety is so very important, but also economically managed. As a result of this, the blue economy industries of the future will require a new and highly skilled workforce. The Blue Economy CRC has been established to address these challenges and to facilitate a step change in the economic value of Australia's new blue economy industries. That we can create premium products into new markets is really exciting. And one of those is seaweed, and it's listed in this. And I'm new to the folio. I'm new to sort of understanding deeply. As a member of a community, you can have a light touch understanding of a whole lots of stuff. But I'm new to some of these things, and the dollar figures globally of the potential in positive outcomes from the research in seaweed. I was able to find some information on the Blue CRC website where worldwide, and I quote from their website, seaweed cultivation and utilisation is a multi-billion-dollar industry, yet Australasia plays a little role in this. This is set to change with the growing interest in using our coastal and offshore waters to produce seaweeds that will provide high-value products for global markets. In preparing to close, one of the things that I wanted to say was that it's not an either-or here. We're not saying that this research will come to an end that will say all aquaculture or all activities will need to be offshore. And on the Blue CRC's own website, when it talks about the intended outcomes of the research, one of the intended outcomes is that salmon aquaculture in offshore high-energy sites, that it will be sustainable and allows industry to make a choice about where they farm salmon, and a pathway for industry expansion and diversification. And that choice, I think, is really important. It goes to what I was saying before about the importance of this industry to Tasmania. I've had the opportunity just in the last few months to visit a number of sites of our salmon industry across Tasmania. I had the fortune of going up to the northwest coast and visiting the team at the processing plant at Petuna, and we know that they've got in the pipeline a significant investment along the northwest coast which will employ significant Tasmanians in really important regional jobs. And so this is not about moving away from what happens now, it's about adding to and creating that choice, subject to the research showing that it can be viable, that fish welfare will be looked after, subject to the research demonstrating that the opportunities are limitless. The other business that I was impressed to see, and the Minister made comment about the fact that being in Tasmania and Asians having the greatest stomach for fish, for eating, but being the highest consumers of fish. It was great to go and visit Biomar in Wesleyvale recently and to see their incredible operation, and hearing, when I was speaking to David White there, him make a comment that if Biomar wasn't in Tasmania, or if they didn't have a facility of this kind in Australia or New Zealand, there would be no aquaculture industry in Australasia. That they are feeding, providing the feed for this industry, which is leading from Tasmania. So we do all these things already really well here. These amendments provide for a great opportunity into the future. Tasmanian Labor are really supportive. We know it provides greater certainty. It is just the first of many steps. It provides certainty for the industry going forward, and continues to build up the great reputation that we have. However, it is the first step. In order that we feel that anything can be commercialised out of this, and we're obviously hopeful and supportive that it can be, this step will inform the development of appropriate legislation, of robust regulatory frameworks and administrative frameworks, both at the Commonwealth and the state level, before anything could be commercialised. So there's a lot of work yet to be done. And always wanting to finish on a positive, but just noting from the consultation before I take my seat that there were 7 submissions to the consultation. There was members of industry that were provided the opportunity to respond. But it's disappointing to see that the contribution from the Bob Brown Foundation talk about the fact that they don't support offshore aquaculture. They don't support it inshore, and then there's all these expectations that we might be able to go on land, or we should all take it offshore. What we need in Tasmania is to back the industries that are backing our economy, backing our workforce, and supporting both Tasmanians and Australians and the country in terms of the quality development. So as I prepare to take my seat, I put on record Tasmanian Labor's support for these amendments, which are simple in their process but significant in the opportunity that opens up, and look forward to the outcomes of the research as it occurs over the years ahead, but stand here on behalf of Tasmanian Labor today, interested in the innovative outcomes of seaweed, of finfish, of other species, but absolutely supportive of the industry that we have here right now in Tasmania, the salmon industry, a great industry in Tasmania and one we should be proud of.